Today I'm going to show you how to make a hand fidget out of different material and textures. So to make my sensory ring or hand fidget, I went around the house and gathered up a bunch of different textured fabric. It doesn't have to match or be fancy, you're just looking for different textures. So here I have some velvet, some linen, fleece. This is another type of fleece that just has some texture to it. I have terry cloth, flannel, regular cotton. I have felt. Again, this is a different textured fleece. I have some ribbon. This is ribbed ribbon that has a different texture. This is smooth ribbon. And then this is Velcro. I'll probably just use the soft part of the Velcro. Now that I found my fabric, I'm going to cut it into strips. And I'm going to make them approximately 1 inch wide and maybe 5 inches long. So now I've cut all my strips out. I found some other interesting textures that you could use. You don't have to run to the fabric store to find fabric. My terry cloth, I used an old face cloth. The satin I used came from old sheets. Flannel you can get from old pajamas. So there's all kinds of things around the house that you can find different textures. I'm also going to use a shoelace and tie that on. I found some string in here that I'm going to use. And I also found some elastic that I'm going to tie on. And I decided I'm going to use both sides of the Velcro. Just make sure you don't put them together on your ring, because you don't want them putting it together and ripping it apart so it makes a lot of noise. So now we're going to get ready to assemble our sensory ring. I was able to find a D-ring that I'm going to put mine on. It has a secure clasp, so it's harder to get the strips off. I found a keychain also that they could go on, but this one does open up, so they might be able to get the strips off. If you don't have either of those, you can always use a shoelace, some string, some cord, anything around your house that you can tie. So here's the shoelace and the elastic, and how I just looped and tied the top of it and then slid it through the D-ring. Now that we have our strips cut out, we're going to put the holes in them. The easiest way to do this would be to use an ice pick, but unfortunately I couldn't find mine. And we cannot use a hole punch because that doesn't typically go through fabric very easily. So what I found was a very sharp nail, or you can use a screw, and an X-Acto knife. Now some of these fabrics, putting a hole in them, the nail goes through fairly easy. So your flannel, you can just poke the nail through. Terry cloth, the nail goes through pretty easily. Satin, the nail goes through pretty easy, as well as just your regular cotton fabric. Fabric that has a tighter weave to it is going to be a little bit more difficult, so you may have to use the X-Acto knife just to put a slight hole in it. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your holes maybe a half an inch down. If they're too close to the edge, they might easily tear off your ring. So on this one, I'm going to use my X-Acto knife, and all I need to do is put it in far enough so it pokes out the other end. Just enough that you can get your nail through. And then you can get your nail through and then just poke it through. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, you can also hammer a hole into it if you have to. But the sharper your nail or screw, you might be able to get it through just on its own. You could use just a regular sharp knife. Again, all you have to do is just poke it through the initial fabric, and then you can use your nail and your screw to make your actual hole. Once I have all my holes in my pieces, I'm just going to alternate the pieces on my ring for the different textures. Again, I don't want to put my Velcro together because I don't want to be able to them to be able to put it together and undo it, because it will make noise. The best part about a hand fidget is that it's not supposed to draw attention away from whatever they're focusing on, so it's kind of mindless. If they can attach the Velcro and undo it, then their attention's going to be drawn to your sensory ring and not on what they're supposed to be focusing on. So I'm just going to separate mine. And I'll put some ribbon on it. Again, I have the elastic in the middle. Some flannel on this side. My cotton. And then here's the shoelace. Maybe I'll put the shoelace on next. The linen. The Velcro's on this side, so I think I'll put the other Velcro over here. Again, you're just going to be alternating textures. And my terry cloth. Maybe go back to this side. Put some fleece on there. The felt. The felt was actually the hardest one to poke a hole through. Some satin. Maybe I'll go back to this side. Put another kind of ribbon on this side. Go through there. I have some string. Maybe I'll put that on here. Right, and then I'm going to put my final piece of fleece on there. So you have it like this. And then you're just going to close it up. And there's your fidget. All the different textures. Now again, if you don't have a D-ring, the elastic, and Velcro, you can always use a shoelace or a piece of string and just thread it through your holes and then just tie it off. There you go.